Hey, what's going on here, buddy? This is Alex from PlayStation 3 Talk, and we're going to do something a little bit different today with the Game 1 of NBA Finals starting tomorrow in Dallas, I believe. No, in South Beach. We are going to simulate Game 1 of the Finals on NBA2K11, see what the outcome is, and I guess compare it to the real outcomes in real life. So right off the bat here, I think this series is going to be a good one. I think it could go 7. The Heat obviously had the second best record in the East, and the Mavericks, Mavericks were the 3rd seed in the West. So I'm gonna give you a couple weaknesses and strengths of both teams, and then I'll kind of talk about who I think is going to have the better matchup against the other team. So, for the Heat, to start with, as you see, the opening ceremony is here before the game. The Heat, I'll start with their strengths. The Heat are an incredible half-court defensive team. I would say, if not the best in the NBA, second to only the Bulls, and they beat the Bulls, so I think they got the upper hand on them in that category, in that regard. Another strength is their star power. Obviously, they have 2 big playmakers and another guy in Chris Bosh, who can also get production on the boards and in the score column. So, another strength of the Heat is well, actually, it's one of the only strengths I can think of. Their defense and their star power in LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. So, a couple of weaknesses for the Heat. They have a very short bench. The addition of Mike Bibby has helped. Now they can bring Mario Chalmers in off the bench instead of starting him. So they have 2 great point guards to go to. Also, the Heat really have not shown they can close games. That would be true in the beginning part of the year. During the regular season, they had some trouble closing games, and they lost a couple games down the stretch. But they have shown that they can turn that around in the postseason with huge wins in Chicago twice, especially in that last Game 5 crazy comeback, just insane comeback to steal in Chicago there, and they closed them all. They're all pretty close games in the 4th quarter, and they won 4 games against the Chicago Bulls to advance to the finals. So, hats off to them for that. They found a way to close when it matters. Another weakness that I want to talk more about is the Heat's lack of depth. They really have their starting 5. Well, they're starting 4. Actually, they're starting 3. They have Dwayne Wade, LeBron, and Chris Bosh, all who play considerable minutes, obviously. And then they really they alternate between Bibby and Chalmers at the 1, which they both can put in some points and production. But they really are lacking a big inside presence. True, on the defensive side, Joel Anthony is a great player. He leading the team in blocks, gets boards, and he really makes his presence known out there on the defensive end. But on the offense, they really lack an inside scoring presence. Now, I know before you say, hey, Chris Bosh is a great inside scorer, I will counter you by saying that he may get some points in the paint, but that is just because he is a post player and he's expected to. But if you watch him, he really does favor that outside jumper, and why not? I mean, he makes it a lot, and this is probably his go-to shot. But the Heat don't have an inside presence, and I think that is going to hurt them against a pretty big team in the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks have a big addition this year in Tyson Chandler. He's he's 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, I forget. Great inside presence, and they also have Dirk Nowitzki, who is 7 foot, and Eric Dampier. all those guys are around 7 foot, and the Heat, as far as I know, don't have any 7-footers except for the Junas Sigalskis, and his minutes have been limited in the playoffs here. But they really, it'd be interesting to see how they match up against this big Dallas Mavericks team. So that's the number one thing I'm looking out for, is how the inside game will play out with Dallas having the bigger team. Alright, sorry, I've kind of been talking about the Heat a lot. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks have pretty much the opposite of Heat, in my opinion. They really, they do have star power in Dirk Nowitzki and a couple other, Jason Kidd, but really their strength is their depth. I mean, they have a great starting five, and they also have pretty much their 6 through 9, 10 guys. They could all be starters in other teams, in my opinion. I mean, they got Stojakovic, for one, coming off the bench. He is really showing great production, especially in the three-point category, obviously, in the playoffs. He's been huge, and I think that he could be the X factor in this series, making big shots down the stretch. So, yeah, let's move on to some weaknesses for the Mavericks. I think a weakness for the Mavericks is maybe transition. I think that the Heat like to push it more, and I really think that the Heat can get down the court, beat it on the court, and get some easy buckets against this older Mavericks team. I mean, they got Jason Kidd, who's 40 or whatever the hell he is, and a couple other players. Even Tyson Chandler's getting up there. So yeah, they're pretty. They're, I think, the second oldest team in the NBA. So I think that the Heat really can utilize that and just basically run them to the ground. And so I think if the Heat really get their transition game going, I think they can win this series. But the Mavericks are definitely a deeper team, and they have the experience. I mean, they were in the finals a couple years ago. It was like 4 years ago, but they've been here before, and they're the second oldest team in the NBA, as I mentioned. Whereas the Heat are a little younger, and they have a less deep bench. So it's going to be a great series. I will have to give it to the Heat in 7 games, just because I'm a Heat fan. I love LeBron, so a little bit of bias, but that's all right. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll post game 2 next couple days. All right. See you guys later.